Hey there, Indy. RPG a Day, questions 19 and 20 are sort of similar. 19th was best way to learn a game. And as I was trying to sketch out my ideas in my head, I thought about how I liked um, sessions with much of the character development, not character development, but character information provided for you where the GM knows the game. So that led me to thinking about convention games. Question 20, most challenging but rewarding system you have learned. And I stopped to think about that, and I was working through, obviously, I talk about Rolemaster a lot, so Rolemaster 2, and that I knew Rifts and I knew Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition, and I was trying to think about other games that I knew, and I thought to myself, well, probably not the games like Shadowrun that I've only played in a session or two at a convention. It's not really learning the game. Really? I just said on 19 that convention was my answer for the best way to learn a game, or at least for me to learn a game. So I thought that was an interesting statement there, that when asked to learn a game and when learning a system, that those were two different, learn seemed to mean two different things in those cases. And here's why I think that is. So I think for when I'm talking about learning a game, for question 19 for instance, that I am really thinking about what's the paradigm for success, or possibly for character advancement in this game. What's the theme? What's the mood? What's the tone that the material lends itself towards? What's their philosophy of magic? A lot of the things that I mentioned actually in the video response for the 3 things you look for in a system. And those you can get from a convention. Okay. But when asking about learning a system, something about learning a system and learning a game seem to mean different kinds of learn to me. I think that in the 20th question, most challenging but rewarding system you have learned, my mind kind of went to, could you GM this? Could you run this system? That's when you've really learned the system. So that learning and learning about a game and learning about a system are almost different levels of learning. But I thought that was interesting just to, when I reflected upon that. To further answer question 20, I had to actually stop and think, well, what systems have I learned? And like I've said earlier, Rolemaster 2 and Rolemaster Unified now, if you want to consider that, Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition, Rifts, oh, of course, TSR Advanced Marvel Superheroes. I really think that's about all I've learned. I have a basic understanding of a lot of other systems, but not that deep. And some of that challenging and rewarding part probably comes from learning a system deeply. So of those systems, I would definitely have to say Rolemaster 2, which should come as no surprise if you've been listening to my videos. Wow, TSR's Advanced Marvel Superheroes is rewarding in some ways. It's also very frustrating in other ways, but it also wasn't very difficult to learn. It was my first system I learned, so there was a new to role-playing kind of speed bump or hurdle for me to get over. But yeah, Rolemaster 2. What made it difficult is when you're talking about Rolemaster 2, the wide variety of skills. Every skill does not have its own way that it's applied, but there are some variations. Most skills are simply, here's your bonus, one task to make a roll, some kind of check. You make your roll, you add this to it, and you're looking to get over a target number. But then there are other skills that were a little different. You learn skills by ranks, which then totaled up to the bonus that you add to your rolls. But some skills were just based off of rank. One other skill in particular, body development, which was the name for the skill of developing hit points. In Rolemaster, you did not just get hit points from leveling. You actually developed them, and if you chose not to put any points into them, well, then you didn't get them. There was some upper level math in that calculation. I'm exaggerating. It wasn't upper level math, but it was not simply count these up, 5 points per block, add it all up. No, there was percentages and floors of division and all kinds of fun stuff just in calculating your hit points. It's a good thing you really only needed to calculate them once a level. But every time we leveled in that old Friends campaign, people would ask, how do we calculate hit points again? Because it was always needed. But Rolemaster's so rewarding. Also, you have the spell system was really unique. The idea of learning the concepts of the spells, multiple spells, which were grouped into lists of spells that were all similar. For instance, starting fires and fire bolts and fireballs and raising the temperature in metals or liquids. Those were all different spells, all contained in one list. And what you did was you studied the concepts and the tricks of casting of a list, and at some point you learned how to do that, and you would get multiple spells all at once. That was a really interesting and different mechanic. But the whole system was really rewarding. The flexibility in development points for skills, the depth of the combat system without getting super tactical all the time. That might be questionable. But the color that the game added for you, I suppose some people wouldn't really like that. They don't want the critical results narrating the game for them. But you learn to roll with them as a GM. Almost everybody I know who enjoys Rolemaster talks about their favorite critical descriptions or fumble descriptions. And it really I feel like it rewarded character development, either depth, like going after certain ideas to the exclusion of others, or characters that were broad, assuming that you have a GM that calls for both kinds of situations or both kinds of character skills. Anyways, so that's my question. That's my answer for 19 and 20. Best way to learn a game, I'm thinking about the theme and the flow of the game, which I say, at least for me, is just go to a convention and play a slot. And 20, what's the most challenging but rewarding system to have learned? It's been Rolemaster. If you'd like to find out more about RPG A Day or RPG Brigade, this year's hosts, the links are down below. You can also go there to find other people's answers to these questions and share your own. Feel free to comment down below with any of your responses to these same questions, or to post links to other people's content that you found also interesting.